Welcome back to the NatCap software development video series. My name is David Fisher. I'm a senior software engineer with the Natural Capital Alliance, where we develop open source software for mapping and modeling ecosystem services. This is the InVEST Workbench, our suite of ecosystem service models. And today I'm going to talk about an exciting new feature called InVEST Reports. Reports are visual summaries of InVEST model results. Many people use InVEST to do complex data analyses, and looking at the data that's generated by one of these models can be quite complicated as well. Over the years, we've talked with many InVEST users about their workflows and what they do after running an InVEST model, and we've learned that there are a lot of common goals that people have after running a model. Everyone needs to do some form of quality control, looking at the results to see if they're valid, decide if they want to go back and change some of the input data and run the model again. People also, of course, want to interpret the patterns in their results, perhaps comparing one set of results with another. And everyone also needs to do some form of communication with their results, whether that's communicating with stakeholders or decision makers, or with other members of their team during the analysis process. So with those goals in mind, we wanted to develop a feature to facilitate those objectives and reduce the friction between model runs. So we developed these data visualizations for InVEST model results. So I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like here with the coastal vulnerability model. I have this model user interface form mostly populated with my input data. I have a workspace selected where the results will go. I'll choose a spatial resolution here of 3 kilometers for my model run, and I'll run this model. The coastal vulnerability model generates an index of coastal hazard exposure to coastal hazards. So it's using a number of different variables such as the wind and wave conditions, the elevation above sea level, the presence or absence of different habitats. It's combining all of these variables into a final index of how exposed is a particular section of coastline to inundation and flooding. And so I've just run this model, and now I have this option to view the results. And this is our new report for the InVEST coastal vulnerability model. So right off the bat at the top, we have this map showing this final exposure index, and these are values ranked 1 through 5. And so we can see kind of at a glance that the north part of the coast here, this is an island in the Bahamas, the western part of Grand Bahama Island. We can see that the northern part of the coast is generally more exposed to hazard than the southern part. I can toggle on this scale by population here to see that while the northern part was more exposed, most of the people actually live on the southern coastline here. And so InVEST reports tend to kind of start at the top with a summary of sort of the headline of the model run. In this case, it's this final exposure index. But they also then include other details about some of the intermediate steps the model took to reach that final metric. And so you can use this report to kind of understand the processes that the model went through and what those and how the patterns in that final result came to be. So in this case, there's these intermediate variables that all go into that final exposure index, things like the presence of habitats like mangroves and coral reefs that are protecting the coastline, the wind and wave conditions, elevation above sea level, geomorphology type. So you can kind of understand what's driving the pattern of exposure on the northern part of the island relative to the southern part. And maybe it's these variables like elevation and susceptibility to storm surge, for example. And so each report will be designed in consultation with experts of this model. And so each InVEST model report will have different components, but they'll all follow this template of helping you walk through the results to understand what the patterns are like, understand how to interpret some of the data. For example, here I can read about the influence of one of the parameters, the fetch distance parameter, on the wave exposure metric that's calculated by the model. So it's quite common to want to get a quick view of your results after running a model, and then maybe go back and change one of the input parameters and run the model again. And so, for example, I chose 3 kilometers for my model resolution here. I might decide after looking at these maps that the spacing between the points along the coastline is a bit too large, and I really want to a finer scale analysis. And so, for example, I can set up another model run. In this case, I already have one set up for the demonstration here, where I chose a model resolution of 1 kilometer, and I can look at the report and even look at these side by side to see how that parameter changes things. So InVEST reports give a great way to compare model results from one run to the next. So this was the coastal vulnerability model. We have reports available for several other models. I'll show one other example here, the seasonal water yield model. This is a model that does some hydrological routing, maps the flow of water over the landscape, and calculates metrics such as quick flow and base flow as a function of the land cover type and some other biophysical parameters. So here the kind of the headline result of this model is this metric of quick flow in millimeters per year across the landscape. And you can see the annual total, monthly totals here, as well as some other ways to interpret that information, like on this hydrograph, where for each of these subwatersheds, we can see what's the seasonal pattern of precipitation, as well as the calculated quick flow. So we can see here at a glance that in this location, this is a watershed in Kenya, where the spring months appear to be the wettest, as well as kind of another wet period in October, November. And so if I was familiar with the study area and I thought that seasonal pattern doesn't make sense, that could be an indication that I might need to go back and maybe there's an issue with my input data that I want to fix and correct. So seeing these visualizations of the data quickly is a great way to kind of verify that the model is working as expected and my input data is reasonably accurate. So again, there's some other intermediate variables that were calculated by the model that could help explain the final patterns. In particular, a number of our models do hydrological routing over a digital elevation model and calculate a stream network. And so looking at the stream that was derived from the digital elevation model is a great way to verify the input data. And so if this stream network, for example, did not look realistic or accurate for the study area, then that could be an indication that there was a problem with the digital elevation model to begin with. We also have some table of summary statistics for all of the raster data sets generated by the model. So seeing the minimum and maximum values, the amount of no data pixels in each raster, the units, these are things that can help to quickly identify an issue that might explain if something strange appears in the output data. You can trace it back to one of these intermediate files and begin to to troubleshoot the problem that way. So this is the seasonal water yield report, um, and these reports are, if I open up the workspace for the model run, I can see all the raw data produced by the model, and that's a lot to sort through. And so the report is a great way to especially give beginners or people who are running the model for the first time a way to quickly understand how to interpret some of these results, which ones are more critical to interrogate than others, because it can be overwhelming to see this directory of raw data. The report itself is this HTML file, and so all of the images in the report are embedded in this single file. I can open it in any web browser as well and see the whole report that way. And because it's encapsulated in this single HTML file, it's very easy to share with other people. And so if I want to send these results to a colleague, I can just send that single HTML file to them. They can open it up in their web browser and see the same report that I'm looking at. So that can be a really handy way to share with colleagues. And it can also be a really handy way to share with us at NatCap through our community forum, where we do software support, research support. Uploading your report here is a great way to get another set of eyes on your data. And we love seeing the reports. So certainly if you have feedback for us about the reports feature, if something looks like it's a bug, we'd love to hear about it. And the community forum is a great place to do that. So that's the InVEST reports feature. We have reports now for 6 models. In addition to seasonal water yield and coastal vulnerability, we have a carbon model report, SDR, NDR, and the new urban mental health model has a report. We're also continuing to develop reports for more models. So with each new InVEST release, you can expect another 2 or 3 models to have reports rolling out. Feel free to talk to us on the forum about which model you would like to see a report for next. So we're very excited about this InVEST reports feature. We hope you like it, and thank you very much for watching this video series.